Please call the roll.
Rich Day.
Here.
Joe Sanders.
Here.
Dan Rohaley.
Here.
Mike Conquest.
Here.
Chad Jeffries.
Here.
Laura Sauerman. John Marshall.
Here. All board members are present this evening. Approval of minutes. Minutes were distributed in your packet. Any questions?
One little
Comments?
tiny nitpick. Adjournment, instead of 7:04 PM, Mike Conquest adjourned. The meeting started at 7, so must have been 8:04.
Probably 9:04, wasn't it?
I don't know,
It was a while, I thought.
whatever. I told you it was.
Yeah.
Let's see, get going.
You know what
Let's go.
time it adjourned?
I have to double check. I believe it was 9:04, but we'll double check.
Ben wrote the minutes, right?
It's on you, Jim.
Ultimately your fault.
Yes, sir.
All right, so any other corrections, comments? Entertain a motion with the adjournment time. Who's gonna make it?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with the adjournment time correction.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Rich Day.
I'll abstain, I wasn't here.
Joe Sanders.
Here, yes.
Dan Rohaley.
Yes.
Mike Conquest.
Yes.
Chad Jeffries.
Yes.
Laura Sauerman.
Yes.
John Marshall.
Yes. Okay, we have some amendments to the agenda tonight. The first deferment that we need to talk about is 2520 5M Crown Point LLC petitioner owner. There was a notice problem with the paper, not a petitioner didn't do anything wrong, correct problem with the notice. So, but because of that, we have to defer this to next month's meeting. So we need a motion.
So moved.
For 2520.
Second.
All right, motion and second, any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Rich Day.
Yes.
Joe Sanders.
Yes.
Dan Rohaley.
Yes.
Mike Conquest.
Yes.
Chad Jeffries.
Yes.
Laura Sauerman.
Yes.
John Marshall.
Yes. Okay, and 2524 and 2525 is the same petitioner, EBT petitioner. And what has happened on these was they got put on the agenda. They're not quite finished with their packet, right? And
To button some stuff up. Yeah.
so they've submitted renderings tonight for the project, which look good. And but we're gonna defer it at this meeting to next month so that everybody, staff and engineering and everybody's ready to go. So we need a motion to defer those two agenda.
So move.
So moved.
All right. Second, Joe.
Take it. Second.
All right, no further discussion. Call the roll, please.
Rich Day.
Yes.
Joe Sanders.
Yes.
Dan Rohaley.
Yes.
Mike Conquest.
Yes.
Chad Jeffries.
Yes.
Laura Sauerman.
Yes.
John Marshall.
Yes. Okay, no old business tonight. New business, 2518 Windermere Townhomes LLC petitioner owner, change of zone from B2 business zone to R3 residential zone at northeast corner of Maryville Road and West 97th Place.
Russ Posen with DVG Team Inc., 1155 Troutline Road, Crown Point, Indiana, representing Windermere Townhome LLC. And I do have the owner introduce himself.
Rick Locasto with RC Development, and I'm the owner of this piece of property. My address is 9142 Maple Drive in St. John.
So what we're doing here tonight is to rezone this piece from B2 to R3. It is at Maryville Road and 97th Place. And this parcel has been really a spot zoning since the 1970s, even though the whole surrounding area has been townhomes and condos. So it doesn't quite fit really with the B2. My client is here to obviously rezone first, but the intent is to build 6-unit townhomes at this site. We have been in front of the BZA and the city council where for the special use to put townhomes on an R3 property that was approved contingent on tonight's rezone. We definitely feel that the rezone to R3 really makes sense with the comp plan of the city. In that area, as you can picture it, permitted uses for B2 are, drive-in restaurants, liquor stores, things of that nature. And it probably doesn't quite fit. It's all townhomes. So we definitely think that this makes sense with the rezone to really just to provide these townhomes. I think another thing that we want to discuss or show you is what we're proposing, just so you can get a better feel about the renderings and the units themselves. We're proposing to have driveways on the north, kind of face that, and then the south would be where the patios and kind of we can call it the back, if you will. But I'm going to kind of scroll here to some of the renderings. Nice townhome units, stone kind of on the bottom, and then just some normal siding and some nice hip roofs. I think it definitely fits in the character of the area. Just kind of some more renderings here. Just to have another pretty simple schematic site plan here for your preview. Yeah, there you go. So the this development, I think it just makes sense here. I think Rick and I are open for questions or comments, but hopefully you see it to be simply rezoned.
Okay. Thank you. Josh?
Windermere Townhomes LLC is requesting a change of zone from the northeast corner of Maryville Road, 97th Place. Current zoning for the property is B2 business with a proposed change going to R3 residential zone. Property is surrounded by R3 residential to the north, northeast, northwest, R1 residential to the west and south, and PUD zoning to the southwest. Petitioner has been working with the planning department on the change of zone to verify it is exactly what the city would like to see done. While the comprehensive plan shows commercial office use, the current zoning would allow businesses such as liquor sales and drive-through restaurants to go through site development with a straight permitted use. The petition was heard at the May 15th special meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals, where it received a favorable recommendation for a special use of 3-0 and received city council approval at the June 2nd meeting. All notices have been properly sent out by certified mail, and the notice has been published in the newspaper. Planning department has received no letters of demonstration or support. Planning department recommends approval of petition 2518.
Okay, thanks, Josh. We'll bring it to the board for questions or comments. Any board member have a quick?
So the
Mr. O'Leary?
garages are off of the north side and the entryway is off of Maryville Road. Is that right? The
Correct.
driveway, okay. That's it. That's all I have.
Mr. O'Leary?
So we'll be seeing the backs of the units from Maryville Road and 97th, correct?
So Maryville, yeah, I think you would see. So from Maryville, so this is kind of upside down. So 97th here is at the
Yeah.
top. You'll see the back and the
If
patio.
you're coming
Yeah.
up, if you're coming from the south.
Yeah, the only thing I would ask is that there be a screening along the back, because nobody likes to look in anybody's backyard. So if there be a screening there so that you don't have to look at that.
Could we do a green screen?
Yeah,
Okay,
just
maybe some
just
some
something
tall
that-
arbors, okay.
because when you come to that corner, you're gonna see that all that back of the
Sure.
building, so.
Yep,
whatever you
we'll
can-
just keep the, we will have to keep the screening outside of a utility easement that's already there.
Yeah,
But,
because there's
there's
an
enough room.
easement there, right?
There's utilities. We can put on the closer to 97th, we could put screening. There's ways to do it. We
Yeah,
just have to be cognizant of the easement.
Just so you don't see it there. Yeah.
Perfect.
Like when you drive down Maryville Road, you see the backyards of a lot of those places. If you could screen it some way, that'd be great.
The tenants would probably want that anyways.
Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be a nice look.
Mhm.
All I have, Mr.
Any further questions?
Yeah, kind of along with what Dan just asked, are you then going to allow or have the access to the drives or the garages off of Johnson Place?
It'll be off of that. So we have to install a street off of Maryville Road that's gonna connect to that parking lot behind the building to the north. And so the driveways for this proposed building would be off of that entrance drive, off of
Okay.
Maryville Road.
Okay,
I don't know what it's called. I don't know the name of the street, actually.
I live at 2 houses off of Maryville Road on 94th Avenue,
Okay,
and I'm sure you're aware that Maryville Road can be pretty crazy at times.
Mhm.
And that's why I ask.
Yes.
And I'm getting the cart in front of the horse, but are these all gonna be owner occupied?
Yes, we're gonna sell. Our intention is to sell them.
Okay,
We don't.
Yeah,
wanna keep them.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And you
Well,
guys have done a great job to the, with the project to the north, if that's you guys.
That's not me, no.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, that
I'll take a
project,
look at it though.
well, yeah, no, I mean, the upkeep there has been good and, you know, it just, if you guys would keep that in mind and do all that too, it'd be awesome.
Sure. Absolutely.
Chad?
So I know we're in zoning, right? But you kind of showed us some renderings. Can you go back to the screen you had before?
So
That one.
this would be facing,
I know which way we're
Northwest.
facing on everything. But so I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around it. So I'm assuming that where we got the hips and then the gables coming up, that's going to be aluminum soffit, I'm assuming.
Yes.
What is the kind of odd triangle above the sliding door? Is that some sort of like 1 foot roof with soffit and stuff
It's
around it?
Just a decorative piece. It's all it is.
Is it-
Serves no function. So it'll
I
be.
can tell that, but I
it'll be
mean,
framed.
is it going to be, are you going to cover it in like a wood to give it like that wood look, or is that going to be some sort of
It'll be shingled.
soffit?
It'll be shingled. The top of it will be shingled and you know, honestly, I haven't worked out all the details of that little piece yet.
I just think it looks kind of forced in there to me, but we'll save that for site plan.
We can take it out.
Anybody else have any questions? I have a question for you. Since these are gonna be owner occupied, do we have a covenant somewhere that we're not gonna paint every unit a different color?
I haven't done the covenants yet. I wanna
But
get past
is that
this.
our intent, so that we don't have a green one, a yellow one, and a blue one?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we'll have to set up a small HOA for this.
Anybody else?
That HOA is gonna be yours alone. You're not gonna be part of the other HOA for the ones to the north,
Correct.
correct? You'll have your own deal for your HOA.
Any further questions? This is a public hearing on this petition tonight, so we're gonna open the public hearing at this time. Anybody in the audience like to come forward and comment on this petition or ask a question, please do so now. State your name and address for the record. Anybody on, all right. Once, twice, 3 times, we're gonna close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Any further questions or? Sure, I'll entertain a motion.
President, I will make a motion to send a favorable recommendation on the change of rezone to the city council on petition 25-18.
I'll second it. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call a roll, please.
Rich Day,
Yes.
Joe Sanders.
yes.
Dan O'Hagan,
Yes.
Mike Conrad.
Yes,
Chad Jeffries,
Yes.
Laura Solomon,
Yes.
John Marshall.
Yes. All right, you passed 7-0.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next item of new business, 25-19, Kurt Minko petitioner, RTS Development LLC and KB Solutions LLC owner requests change of zone from I-1 industrial zone to B3 business zone, northeast corner of Delaware Parkway and 110th Avenue.
All right.
State your name and address for the record and tell us what you like to do.
I'm Connor Ritzy. My address is 67 Sheila Lane in Valparaiso. I'm here on behalf of Kurt Minko and KB Solutions and RTS Development in regards to the lots on Delaware. So we are seeking a rezone of the lots from I-1 to B3. The owners of the 2 lots believe that the current zoning is not reflective of the development that has taken place on 109th. Presently, the I-1 zoning encourages the development of another light industrial building or automotive user. Given the explosion of medical office space, retail, and restaurant users along this corridor, ownership does not feel that a metal building is the highest and best use of this site. In fact, given the size and positioning of this lot, they believe that it has the potential to house a larger user that could anchor the whole development. The goal of this rezone is to do some of the necessary legwork to make this site shovel ready and marketable to a national user. The owners are in no rush and are looking to bring a quality project to Crown Point. That would be more appropriate and welcomed by the public. Thank you.
Okay, Josh?
Petitioner is requesting a change of zone for the area that sits between 109th Place and 110th Avenue on the east side of Delaware Parkway. Current zoning for the property is I-1 industrial, with the proposed change going to B3 business zone. Property is surrounded by B3 to the north and I-1 industrial to the east, south, and west. Petitioner is working with the planning department on the change of zone to verify it is exactly what the city would like to see done. The idea behind the change is not only marketability, but to create more of a buffer between 109th Avenue and the industrial park. All notices have been properly sent out by certified mail, and the notice has been published in the newspaper. Planning department has received no letters of remonstration or support. Planning department recommends approval of petition 2519.
Okay, thank you. Bring it to the board for any questions or comments. Mr. Rayo?
And nothing, I think it's a great idea, to, to do the buffer. The land there is so valuable, with all the, commercial uses to the north. I think it's smart planning to do that. That's all I have. Fully supportive.
I think the zoning fits what's going on in there.
Right.
So. All right. With no questions from the board, this is a public hearing on petition 2519. If anybody in the audience would like to question or have a comment about 2519, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record. Anybody on Zoom? You guys are a lively group tonight. Once, twice, three times, we're gonna close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve petition 2519.
I'll second.
Motion and a second for approval of 2519. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call a roll.
Rich Day,
Yes.
Joe Sanders.
Yes.
Sam Roveda,
Yes.
Mike Conklin.
Yes.
Chad Jeffrey.
Yes.
Laura Sauer,
Yes.
John Marshall.
Yes. And approve 7-0.
No, that'll go to council.
That goes to the council, so you gotta be at the council meeting July 7th.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Next item of new business, 25-21, I-65 Properties LLC, I-65 Beacon Hill Partners LLC petitioner owner. Request a secondary plat. Purposes for commercial at 651 East 109th Place.
We're here before you for secondary plat to take current lot 3B in Beacon Hill South and carve it out into 3B1 and 3B2. We have a user for 3B2 for Dutch Brothers Coffee, and we're looking to get this subdivided in preparation for that development. We were previously in front of the BZA, to discuss and coordinate some side yard variances. The reason for the side yard variances was just to go from a 10-foot side yard setback to 0, because we're going to have access easements and shared parking agreements internally to 3B1 and 3B2. So those, we're going to have obviously drive aisles in that setback. So that's what we were there for. And this plat represents that request. We have ingress, egress easements and drainage easements in the middle, and then some on the sides. On the west, which is currently 3A, which is Chick-fil-A, we're not requesting any side yard setbacks, so we're not really tying to them for this plat. Definitely open for questions and comments, but I think that's kind of a straightforward request for this plat.
Okay, thank you. Josh?
I-65 Properties LLC and I-65 Beacon Hill Partners LLC is requesting secondary plat approval for Lot 3B of the Beacon Hill South development located at 651 East 109th Place, directly to the west of Texas Roadhouse. Re-subdivision approval is granted. The petitioner hopes to construct 2 standalone drive-through restaurants with shared access, parking, and drive aisles. Beacon Hill South Development as a whole previously received variances from development standards for 109th place right-of-way reduction, 109th place setback reduction, and 109th Avenue setback reduction from the BZA in 2022. Petition has been reviewed by Public Works, Streets, Utilities, Engineering, and the Fire Department. The site also received side setback reduction at today's BZA meeting with an approved vote of 5-0. All notices have been properly sent out by certified mail. Notice has been published in newspaper and no letters of registration or support have been received. Planning Department recommends approval of petition 2521.
To add to my statement, we do have those access and parking agreements submitted to the city for review, and those will be executed upon the city's approval of some of the language.
And those were actually just handed to me by legal, where it says that it is okay to record upon execution, so they have that review. We're going to move forward.
Okay, we'll bring it to the board for any questions or comments.
Just a comment, we beat them up pretty good at BZA on 2 buildings on 1 lot. These gentlemen have assured us to the best of their ability that there will be no parking problems or ingress egress problems along 109th place. So we felt comfortable at BZA after such an exhaustive interrogation of them.
Well, any of this from BZ, it looks like there's a utility easement on really both sides of this lot 3B2. Will we be going on top of that utility easement with parking and stuff then?
No. Nope, we are not in that easement on that's the east is what you're talking about. We're not on that easement.
Well, it looks like there's one to the west that goes halfway up between B1 and B2.
That is an ingress, egress, and utility easement, so that is in here. So I guess I would say then we do have pavement in that easement. Yes, I guess is what you're asking. Yes. We have pavement drive aisles here in that ingress, egress, and utility easement. So that's dead center here. And on the east, there's a 30-foot utility easement, which we will be putting pavement in some of it. Yes, but we are aware of the utilities.
And is that just for stormwater? It's just like we'll have stormwater going through there for that?
There's
drainage
stormwater
easement?
in the middle. It's stormwater. There might be some sanitary, and then on the east there is electric and gas, but we're fully aware of them, and we're not going to put any new storm sewer on them. Yeah, this is a new development, so we're fairly aware of where those easements are, what those utilities are. And what they're used for.
Go ahead,
Just-
Mike.
Do you guys concur with Dan's statement about parking?
Absolutely. So
Okay,
this 3B2 is it's a Dutch Brothers, so there's no sit down portion of this development. It's purely drive through. We have 2 lanes of stacking here. You can accommodate a lot of stacking there, and this has we did the calculation for required parking. This development has more parking than it's required, so the excess will be used for a future development, in the other restaurant. And the way that this is set up and the way this is laid out and the way that we've reviewed this with Dutch Brothers, we're confident that the stacking will not get to 109th place. I mean, to even expand on that statement, I've been to Chick-fil-A quite a bit out here and actually in Maryville. Out here has got it done right. It's a new development, new prototype. People are out there, handing, Chick-fil-A and the coffee. The way that they work right now, they're out there, shuffling the drinks. It is a lot more efficient, and there is room in this development, being that it's long and the cars push towards the north, to really not allow for any stacking. So I think this whole area has actually been functioning quite nicely. And we've reviewed this, even when we set up the subdivision, we did a traffic study for all these, high density, high, QSR restaurants, and, we just underwrite at the beginning.
Thank you, Russ.
Absolutely.
Okay, anything further from any board member?
So it'll be like Chick-fil-A, all access is from 109th place.
Yes, correct.
It's a coffee shop, Dutch Brothers.
Dutch Brothers. Yep.
We're becoming the coffee capital of the world here.
Hey,
Strong
we
point.
got medical here. We got coffee. We have,
Oh,
we have some things.
We're already the
You will
easiest
be the
capital of
first
the world.
approved of all Northwest Indiana, but every town and city will have them within the next 60 days of approval So you guys are the first to hear that you're getting a Dutch Brothers, which they are over 3,000 corporately across the country. So
My colleague Dan is satisfied. How could we say no?
Well, given, are you ready for a motion, Mr. President?
I am.
Given the exhaustive representations at the BZA that I heard, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve petition 25-21, subject to all staff.
We have a motion to approve. Second,
I'll second it.
have a second from Rich. Any further discussion?
I feel like I can support it. If you've paid attention to Chick-fil-A's movement, I feel like they should be designing every traffic pattern in the whole United States.
Yeah, the key is to have the two lanes and longer lanes and just kind of, active people on foot. That's been the key to a lot of these
It's awesome.
quick serve restaurants, and that is where things are going.
No, we were open for discussion. No problem. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call the roll.
Rich Day,
Yes.
Joe Sanders.
Yes.
Dan O'Hagan.
Yes.
Mike Conquest.
Yes.
Chad Jeffries.
Yes.
Laura Sauerman.
Yes.
John Marshall.
Yes, been approved 7-0.
Thank you, appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you. Next item of new business, 25-22 Creekside Outdoor Living petitioner, 1886 owner, change of zone from R3 residential zone to OS1 office services zone at 400 East North Street. Please state your name and address for the record and tell us again what you'd like to do.
Yep, okay. Name is Mike Arnold, president of Creekside Outdoor Living. Address is 384 East 111th Court, Crown Point. I'm a local business owner and I work in Crown Point, and I'm here because I believe in the future of 400 East North Street. This building, the former Trinity Lutheran Church and School, has stood in the community for over 100 years. In recent years, it's become more known for damage and decay than beauty and history. The city had previously planned to demolish it, but instead of tearing it down, we see another path, one of restoration, preservation, and new purpose. There are plans for converting the school building into 4 to 6 residential units and repurpose the church into modern office suites, spaces that would serve local professionals and small businesses. We're seeking approval for zoning change to mixed use and a special use variance to allow dwelling units within the office service zone. It's not a flip, it's a full rehabilitation. We're fully prepared to bring the property up to code and have engaged experienced structural engineers, contractors, and preservation experts. We've heard community concerns. Some want it tore down, some doubt whether a project of this scale will actually be completed. And we understand that, but our answer is that we're not speculators, we're local, and we operate a business here. Our investment is personal, and we've committed to work with Indiana Landmarks and the 1886 Church Foundation to preserve the architectural character of this space for generations to come.
Okay, thank you, sir. Josh?
Creekside Outdoor Living is requesting a change of zone for the property located at 400 East North Street. Current zoning for the property is R3 residential with a proposed change going to OS1 office service. Property is surrounded by R3 residential to the north, south, and west with OS1 on the east. While the comprehensive plan shows single-family use, the proposed change to OS1 will allow for office use on the property. The proposal is to rehabilitate the oldest church in Lake County. Petitioner presented a use variance earlier today, the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. The use would allow for residential dwellings within the same structure as office use. The petition received a favorable recommendation with a vote of 5-0. All notices have been properly sent out by certified mail, and the notice has been published in the newspaper. Planning Department has received some letters of remonstration and some letters of support. Planning Department recommends approval of petition 2521.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Bring it to the board for questions or comments. I was at the BZA meeting and the letters of remonstration were they wanted it knocked down and not have anything built there. So, I don't know. Nothing.
Look, I'm going to start off by saying, God bless you guys for trying to save this, okay? I mean, I'm a longtime Crown Pointer. That's history there, okay? I looked at OS1, And residential is a special use in OS1, as long as it's second floor above the businesses. Does that mess you up?
I don't think so, because we're isolating the residential use to the school portion, and the goal would be that the church itself would be for office suites.
Okay, here's my only other concern. That building is in pretty ill repair, and I understand that at some point the mold was so bad, it was probably a health hazard, you know? You got a lot of work in front of you. If you guys were to get to the point where you couldn't master this, it concerns me that we now have OS1 property, because that's just out of line for that area. And you know what? There was a period of time, a lot of the homes in that area were kind of, you know, getting maybe a little shabby, if that's maybe not the correct word, but people have done a nice job and really turned that area around, and the upkeep and so it's probably a residential, you know, area. I understand we can't put any sort of proclamation or demand on you guys saying, if this fails, then it goes back, reverts to R1 or whatever. But would you guys, I understand that you guys, and I don't know that we need to come up with the verbiage tonight, but would you guys be willing to come up with a statement that should this fall apart, that you'd be willing to have it revert back to a residential property? That's just a couple of my thoughts.
Conditional zoning, correct?
Pardon?
It would be in the form of a written commitment.
Written commitment, that it would be this use and this use only. And if this did not happen, then all plans or all approvals would go by the wayside.
If the petitioner would be willing to enter into that written commitment, send it to the board.
So terms and provisions, and then they enter into it. It's almost like conditional zoning is really what it is. And then it's recorded. And if this doesn't come to pass, then all the approvals are null and void.
Well, that would be up to the petitioner. I don't know, is that something you guys would enter into?
Yeah, I mean, prior to us coming along, this thing was set for demo, right?
Mhm.
And, you know, the conversation I and the partner I'm bringing along for this have kind of determined, like, you know, going down the road of, you know, financial expense of planning everything out like crazy, and you know, there have been structural studies that have been done, so I'm relying on what has been done already, but I still want to get my own, because I want to rely on somebody else's word for my investment. It's kind of contingent on us getting this zoning, because then all that work and all that money would be for nothing. So the conversation with us has been, okay, well, if somebody had said, hey, this thing is condemned, like you can't build, which I don't believe is the case based off of everything that I've heard thus far. But should that worst case scenario happen, and you know, we have to go back to doing what is already in motion to have a thing demoed, and we have to be the ones to foot the bill for the demo, well, then something else has to go there. And with that zoning, I mean, we're property investors, right? We're just trying to figure out what is best for the city and what's best bang for our buck. So, you know, if that zoning was there, we could perhaps do something that is some sort of, and forgive me, I'm a landscaper, I own a landscape company. I don't know all the terminologies here, right? But, you know, something that is neighborhood appropriate in terms of some sort of low level, low key office suite, perhaps coffee shop or something like that with residential above it. But if we're saying that the only way for us to get that zoning and special use approved is for it to go to, it revert, if the building had to get torn down, essentially, it would have to get reverted back to residential, then I just have to go back with my partner and say, hey, you know, what kind of costs we have in this, and what kind of return we have in this, and how many units can we have in there, and does that make sense for this parcel? So it's hard for me to answer that without having, because that's a brand new concept, and I hear where you're going with that. It's hard for me to have an answer for you on that right now, to commit to that, I guess. So
could we move forward with this with him being able to make the determination whether or not he could commit before city council?
I would be willing to do that. If you'd be willing to look at something that, like you said, a low-key business area, you know, medical, lawyer, you know, something like
Yeah,
that.
I don't want to have a Chick-fil-A go in there, right? I'd rather have something that is, you know, it's a quaint neighborhood. And so whatever kind of business we have there has to obviously match that vibe, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a business to the east of you, and
Yeah,
the old Timothy Ball School is gonna turn into some sort of business, but you know, it is a nice neighborhood
It is.
area.
yes, I agree. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure the proper route to.
I'd be willing to move forward if you were willing to pursue some sort of arrangement or some sort of agreement like that.
Yeah.
I just, we don't need a McDonald's there, or,
100%.
you know,
100%.
bar there or something like that.
Yeah. Well, there's not enough parking even for that sort of thing anyway. What's there right now is, you know, I'm not trying to build on, you know, expand the property, the building itself. And so the parking itself right now, I mean, that would pose an issue if there was to be a larger type of business like that in there. So that it wouldn't even be appropriate. So, but no, I mean, however that's worded, I don't know the proper wording for this kind of thing again. But some sort of quaint type of business that's low key, not loud, and appropriate for the neighborhood. Yeah. I mean, my first priority is to preserve the church. I mean, I love the church. I think it's a fantastic landmark. And you know, it's not really relevant to government, I guess, but I'm a Christian and I have, you know, a Christian business. And so now, you know, the prospect of even maybe one day my admin staff occupying that in a church is just kind of cool. So that's my main priority. That's my main goal. So would not be the greatest thing ever for somebody to say you cannot do something in here, but obviously things like that happen. So we have to be prepared for that. So
Yeah, I want to see it happen.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see it happen dearly, but Joe, are you comfortable with us moving
Well,
forward?
he's asking for an OS1 zone. What's he allowed to do?
Not a lot. It's basically just office services.
He's limited anyways, even if the current zoning goes through and it remains, he's limited.
And he's also limited by the scope of the building and property as it currently sits.
Yeah.
So even if he were to attempt to put in a different business that would need a special use, that would also require variances for parking. So right now, what he's proposing with the office services is actually one of the least impactful zones that we could be putting in there.
Are you intending these offices for your business or?
possibly. Yeah,
So you're-
it's not a right now thing, but down the road, I mean, if you know where my office is right now, it's next to Offsburg Brewing, and we're going to, in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll likely outgrow that space. And I'd want a space to have for admin, and I mean, a lot of our clientele is Crown Point, so having our showroom and all that kind of stuff be really close to the, you know, the heart of Crown Point, where and then the rest of our field staff and trucks and materials and all that could be an off-site type of location. That's a possibility, a likely possibility. Yeah.
Familiar with the, you may want to use a training film, Tom Hanks, Money Pit, the movie? I wish you luck on this. I hope. I mean, I've driven by that a million times now, and I see the roof is in disrepair. So
Yeah.
I know I've heard the same things that structurally it's got good bones, but
Yeah.
I hope it does.
His variances for was granted, or it went to the city, it's gonna go to the city council for a maximum of 6 residential units there. That's the max.
And again, I understand what Joe and Josh are saying, but I'd still feel more comfortable with some sort of statement of your intent, what it could become if it did not pan out, you know, just that way we don't get into this argument in the future that, well, I thought this and I thought this, and you know, and
Yeah, but like Joe said, I mean, he's getting the
yeah.
OS1 with some residential conditional, and
Yeah.
if he had to change it, he's got to come back and change it, and you know, I know what you're saying, that you'd like to see it ahead of time, but it's kind of limited as what can happen there.
There is a flip side to that coin. If we put, it, I mean, how many units can you put on this lot with R3 zoning? I mean, and he can do it right now.
Yeah.
He can knock the church down and build, I don't know, how many units you think, Josh?
I'd rather not fit
I'm just, I mean, is it 10? Could you put 10 on there?
I bet someone could budget that in there.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean, I think what he's asking for is,
It's kind of protecting us, protecting it
I
now.
mean, how much, you'd have the whole neighborhood in there if you wanted to put 10, 12 units on that lot.
Agreed,
And they got the zoning to do it right now. So
agreed.
I think his ask is reasonable.
Yeah, what he's asking for tonight, basically, Mike is kind of locking us in now, so.
Yeah, and your point kind of proves my point that if it was knocked down right now, you could, multifamily housing sort of thing. And that's probably not what we want there either. So that's, I'm not looking,
I think we stick with what's on the table.
I think so.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to slow this down. I just,
Mike, if it helps, just looking at the zoning table, office services limits him to light medical, professional services, professional offices, and personal services. So
yeah,
not a
okay.
lot there.
Yeah, they would have to get into special use to, yeah, okay.
I'm gonna go to the other end of the spectrum and say, I'm on the Historic Preservation Committee. I am so excited that somebody that doesn't want to tear this thing down. There are many citizens in town who have been very concerned about it going down when that first got put out there. So I'm thrilled with your plan. I think it fits the neighborhood. I trust your man of integrity, and I think you've explained things really well. I think it's gonna be a great project. The people who don't want it are people who don't want anything on the corner and they just want grass, and we get that all the time, and that's just not gonna happen. Nor should it, actually. So I'm very excited about this project, and I'm thankful somebody wants to take it on. Because I think it's gonna be very rewarding. I think it's gonna be a real gem for the city. If it's somebody who wants to do it right. It sounds like it's somebody who wants to do it right, so.
I would agree with Laura. I think it's a cool idea. That property has been an eyesore for 20 plus years, right? And so we've had the residential in there. If you guys can bring that thing back to its former glory, literally just looking at this, I'm excited because you're a landscaper, right? And you can actually get some bushes and mulch
It better
around it.
look
that-
good. Yeah.
I think if you could repurpose that, and I think it's a cool vibe to have there where you got office in that old building.
Yeah.
The residential, I think that's a pretty good, give and take back and forth if you got to do that to make the project work.
Right.
And honestly, if it came to the point where you got into it and you go, it's just, I had my inspectors in there and it's crumbling, right? We can't save it.
Right.
From what has been there for the last 20 years, right? We hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it's just a nice small, attorney, accountant's office, something of that nature, would work in that corner, would not look out of place. So I don't have any problem with the OS1 designation, and I wish you all the luck that everything goes great for you on it.
Appreciate it.
Okay, this is a public hearing on this change of zone, so if anybody in the audience would like to come forward, state your name and address and your comments or questions about this project, please do so at this time. Anybody? Once, twice, 3 times, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board for a recommendation.
Make a motion to approve.
25-22.
I'll second that.
Okay, this is going to city council, right? Yep. All right, recommend zone change to the city council. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call a roll.
Rich Tag,
Yes.
Joe Sanders.
Yes.
Dan Rohade.
Yes.
Mike Conklin.
Yes.
Chad Jeffries.
Yes.
Laura Sauer.
Yes.
John Marshall.
Yes. Had a successful evening. Hopefully it continues.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
All right, next item of new business, 25-23, Timothy A. Briggs and Nancy K. Briggs, petitioner owner, requests a primary plat for office building at 700 West Burrell Drive. Please state your name and address for the record and tell us what you'd like to do.
Tim Briggs, 3437 West 136 Lane, Crown Point. I'm here with my wife Nancy. We're the owner of the property at 700 Burrell Drive in Crown Point. It's in the Feather Rock office park, kind of at the entrance to Feather Rock subdivision. We have 3 acres of land there. And our plan is to divide this, and it's more land than we need for our use. So we want to divide it into 2 parcels. And then on the parcel to the east, we will build an office for our business, which is a Briggs Insurance Agency. And we'll also have a tenant in that office. It'll be about a 5,000 square foot building. Will occupy about 3,300 and the tenant will be about 1,700. And we picture it as a lawyer or an accountant type tenant in there. The other parcel to the west, we don't have any plans for it. We would hold on to that for future development and possibly sell it. So I'm here with our engineer, Laura Brown, from the firm Abbott Marsh in Valparaiso. And we're here to answer any questions. And I'm really going to probably have Laura take over on the questions as far as the plat presentation. So that's what our plan, our request is to subdivide that into 2 parcels.
Okay, well, thank you, sir. Josh?
Petitioner is requesting primary plat approval for re-subdivision of Lot 2 in the Feather Rock subdivision located at 700 West Burrell Drive. Re-subdivision of Lot 2 would be dividing the current lot into 2 lots. Lot 2A would move forward with site development for an office building, with Lot 2B being determined at a later point in time. Lot 2A would be a 1.78 acre lot. Lot 2B would become 1.16 acre lot. Project is currently going through the planning review process for site development. Subdivision was presented as a workshop at the April 28th, 2025 planning commission meeting, where it was viewed favorably by the commission. All notices have been properly sent out by certified mail. Notice has been published in newspaper, and no letters of remonstration or support have been received. Planning department recommends approval of petition 2523.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We will bring it to the board for any questions, comments.
I just want to say thanks again for the property furthest on the east where it's wetland and wooded, that you've left it alone. Thank you very much.
Well, I have a question about that.
Uh-oh.
In the one of the department's comments, there's a sidewalk requirement in this office park, which we're aware of course, but it wants us to not only install the sidewalk from the lot line to lot line along Burrell, but that it says specific, including the wetland. And a sidewalk in that wetland, I don't really know what it would accomplish. It wouldn't connect with anything other than a neighbor's driveway. And then there is an existing sign for the Feather Rock subdivision, kind of would be right in the way of that sidewalk. So you'd have to go around it, and then there's a culvert that also with a bunch of riprap stone there that you'd have to put the sidewalk over that, I guess. We were wondering if you would reconsider the sidewalk requirement in the wetland portion of the lot.
I can't make that decision, but I'm sitting here wondering if you could go across Burrell Drive, take your sidewalk, kind of go, what would that be, southeast or south, yeah, southeast. On the other side, and you've kind of got the, I don't know that that's the retirement home, or if that's Fleming property then, but I would assume that's got to have a sidewalk, and that would take it out to the, Walgreens and all that area. I don't know if that's a viable solution.
Yeah.
I guess if you're putting a sidewalk right next to the road on your side, you're not doing a lot of harm to the wetland. I don't know what you get involved in going across. I don't know what that creek's like there, if it's a real creek or just kind of, but I don't know, Tim.
Yeah. Okay, Mike.
It does sort of start to slope by the wetland where we're showing the sidewalk. I'm not sure how far, if any, if it would actually encroach into the wetland, but it probably would require a little bit of regrading in that area.
Sure, Bob.
The sidewalk along Ryan Fleming's Golden Meadows, there isn't one there.
There isn't one.
So we'd like to have, we always try to get a sidewalk on one side of the street. So you're the lucky guy to be on that side of the street. Now, we have all these sidewalks to nowhere. We understand that, and that's how these happen. So I'd rather see the sidewalk there. And if anything on the north side of 125th, that YMCA owns, that they would develop, they could continue that sidewalk all the way over to Marshall. So that would be my feeling, is to have the sidewalk in there. I wouldn't be in favor of a waiver for the sidewalk. That's just how I see it. I don't know if anybody sees it differently.
Well, that'll be brought up at site review though. So, I mean, that doesn't have any bearing. The sidewalk doesn't have any bearing on a zone change, so.
Okay,
Right. That's.
I read it.
We're on
in the-
primary plat.
I read it in the questions, so.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're on primary plat.
So we're on primary plat. We can
Gotcha.
waive it if we wanted.
I don't know. We've done so many zone changes and I thought we were changing zone again. I'm sorry.
I'd rather just keep the sidewalk there.
So what happens with the residence that's between that property, his property and the Y property? Are you gonna, they don't have a sidewalk there,
No,
so we're just gonna put one in to end it at somebody's property?
No, at some point it'll be on the city's dime to finish that connection.
So the city would have to put that
That's why over the past few years, we've made sure that every new development comes in plus their own sidewalks, so the city doesn't have that cost.
Like sidewalk.
What are the environmental ramifications of putting sidewalk through a wetland, even the edge of one?
That's all gonna come to light during the site development process, so that's going through reviews right now. So I don't answer for you today on that.
Worst
there a
case
time when
scenario,
you're told you
if I
can't?
can weigh in, worst
And
case,
if that's the case, then that ends up being the case.
worst case scenario, if they find it's an issue, you can apply for variance. Then we could deal with it then, but at least have some evidence. The grounds for it at that point.
I'm not gonna get GIS on my phone, and if I did, it'd be so small. But do you know, is that wetland Army Corps of Engineer controlled? Because if it is, that ups the ante. We've been through that, Joe. We've been through that. That ups the ante tremendously.
Right, I'm not sure off the top of my head whose jurisdiction that's in. So I don't know if they're
Yeah,
controlled by the Army
okay.
Corps or not.
Okay.
I'll have to look into that.
'Cause you gotta get Army Corps of Engineer approval and all that sort of stuff, if it is controlled by them. And I don't know that it is.
So according to the submitted, is that Open Creek to Feather Rock or 125th? And then is there a culvert under there? And is that, it doesn't look like it looks like a lot smaller Open Creek on the south side of it. But I mean, I can't imagine bringing in all kinds of grade and making all kinds of improvements for a strip of sidewalk on that, in that wetland, you know?
No, but we don't know if it is.
Well, if there's grounds down the road, it can always come back in.
Yeah, because if anybody's gonna
Right.
want sidewalk, it's, you got the residential development there on the other side,
Right.
that's where it really should be.
The sidewalk requirement is in the property owners association of the professional office park. It's in there. It just says that all sidewalk must border all the streets. So
That's in the covenants and restrictions of Feather Rock, correct?
right.
Mr. Briggs, there's nothing this board could do about those covenants.
Okay.
Josh, do you know, Golden Meadows side, were they required to put in sidewalks on 125th? Okay,
I
thank
was here at that meeting. They were
Oh,
required.
yeah, that's right. But there,
And they, I remember Mr. Fleming saying that they were going to have the builder do it as the lots were being built. And I did, because I live connected to that subdivision, so I drive that road every day. And we need sidewalks. I'm driving in the middle of the road, riding bikes with my son to Walgreens, and it's bad. It's
Oh,
dangerous.
after
I
school's
even
out,
made the
yeah.
phone call to ask if we can get the striping in the center of the road. We didn't have it before, and now it's there. So, it's not safe, but I do know that the Meadows has required, and I do believe that the city has something in their plan on the south side, like you guys said, to connect, and then the retirement home will have to keep connected. So, and I put a lot of sidewalks in that lead to nothing, so.
He's got this, so I'm just gonna.
Yeah, yeah. Give him your sweater.
So Josh, you should look at it with the overall plan to see if it's connecting. I don't know if a crosswalk would be the best on that busy road, like you guys had mentioned, but they all are gonna supposedly connect very soon, because I think you already got approval on the next retirement, right? So city's gonna have to do something with that, because then it will connect.
I'll echo your sentiments, because when I go through there, there's always kids in the middle of the street, always skateboarding and walking through there, so,
Until
yeah,
about
that's
4
probably
months
needed.
ago, we didn't even have line striping on, and everyone just takes that curve. There's already been cars going through that.
Oh, yeah, I imagine.
Okay, any further questions or comments from the board member? All right, this is a public hearing on this petition, so if anybody in the audience would like to come forward and speak on this petition, please do so at this time. State your name and address for the record. Anybody on Zoom? Anybody in the audience? Once, twice, 3 times, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. Any further questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve petition 25-23.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any further discussion? Call a roll, please.
Rich Day.
Yes.
Joe Sanders.
Yes.
Dan Rahady.
Yes.
Mike Conklin.
Yes.
Chad Jeffries.
Yes.
Laura Sauerman.
Yes.
John Marshall.
Yes. Been approved 7-0.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Next item of business is any miscellaneous business, any staff, any board member have? Any comments on the Zoom? Okay, well, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So.
There you go.